Yes.
We do.
It's close enough, and we're near enough. Do we have any apologies? I know there's one
Yes,
from.
Chair, we've had apologies.
Go on, Carol. Yeah.
Yes, Chair, we've had apologies from Aaron Beaver, Alan Platt. Oh, sorry.
Alan Platt's
Had
here.
apologies from,
I can
yeah.
see him. You can
sorry,
apologise for him, Carol. Carol, sorry.
Terry Dickinson, Kevin O'Donnell, Alan Cornwell, Peter Fenimore, and Darren Crenshaw.
Thank you. Right. Just like to welcome everybody to the meeting. Got a brief here, not that it really matters. Just like to thank everyone for attending the virtual meeting of Chorley Liaison. For those who don't know me, my name's Councillor Gordon France, and I'm the chair, and Councillor Kim Snape is the vice chair. And the only other thing to say, please note this is a Teams meeting. It is being recorded, and the video stream will also be uploaded to YouTube after the meeting. We are being recorded, are we? Right. For each item, I'll invite members to use the raise hand function on their iPad to make comments to ensure each member has the opportunity to speak and that they're not speaking over each other. When speaking, please reference the paragraph number to enable everyone to follow you. Please mute microphones and video feed when you're not speaking. I think the bit about paragraph numbers and so forth only really applies to the minutes of the last meeting. Right, number 2, minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday the 17th of February. Has everybody had the opportunity to have a look at those? Is anybody willing to propose them as a true record?
I'll propose them.
Thank you, Kim. Have we a seconder for that, please?
I'll second it, Aaron.
Aaron? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. So
Thank
that's fine. Right. Number 3 is Neighbourhood Planning presentation, and this will be done by Philippa Lane, the Planning Policy and Housing Officer, and she's going to deliver a short presentation and take any questions. So over to you, Philippa. Got Philippa on the call.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen. Hi, I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see the presentation. Just bear with me one moment, please. Right, hopefully everybody can see that now. My name is Philippa Lane. I'm going to tell you a little bit about neighbourhood plans, what they are, a short summary of the process of preparing a plan, and what financial assistance is available to groups wishing to produce a neighbourhood plan. First of all, what is neighbourhood planning? It gives communities the direct power to develop a shared vision for their neighbourhood and shape development and growth of their local area. The neighbourhood plan could cover homes, shops, offices, where they are and how they should look, as well as what infrastructure should be provided. So a number of things that neighbourhood plans can do. They can enable communities to decide where they want new houses, shops, offices to go and what they look like. The plan could be small or large in scale. It could be single or multi-issue, planning or non-planning in scope. It's optional to produce a neighbourhood plan. There is a prescribed process that you must follow to produce it, and it's important that everybody is involved in the development of the neighbourhood plan. The plan should support the delivery of the strategic policies set out in the local plan and direct development that is outside of these policies. The specific planning topics covered are for the community themselves to determine, but they should contain policies for the development and use of land. They're community-led and they look at the needs of specific neighbourhoods. What can't a neighbourhood plan do? The neighbourhood plan can't decide that the neighbourhood needs fewer houses than what is set out in the local development framework. It can't be one person's opinion. The plan can't be used to stop development, and it can't be done quickly. They are quite time consuming. As I mentioned, there's a process that has to be followed to get to prepare the plan. So this pyramid here shows the 5 steps involved in preparing the neighbourhood plan. And I'll briefly go through these, starting with stage 1, agreeing the neighbourhood area. In parished areas, it's likely to be the parish that's the neighbourhood area, the area covered by the parish. So the information to be submitted to the council to request the designation of the neighbourhood area is a map showing the outline of the area, a statement explaining why that area would be the most appropriate to be covered by the neighbourhood plan, and a statement explaining that the body making the area application is capable of being a qualifying body. In parished areas, this would be the parish council, or in non-parished areas, there would be a neighbourhood forum. Stage 2 is preparing the neighbourhood plan. This needs to be backed up with evidence and the outcomes of community engagement to inform the development of a vision and or aims. These in turn will inform policy development and site allocations where appropriate. The community needs to be engaged at all stages. Once drafted, the plan must be subjected to pre-submission consultation and publicised to people who live, work or have business in the area for a minimum of 6 weeks. You must consult statutory bodies and submit a draft to the planning authority to the council. So the information that would need to be included with the draft would be the plan and a map showing the neighbourhood area, the title of the plan, a consultation statement, and what's called a basic conditions statement. The basic conditions for neighbourhood plans are specified by law, and these are that they must be appropriate, having regard to national policy. They must contribute to the achievement of sustainable development. They must be in general conformity with the strategic policies in the local authority's local development framework. They must be compatible with human rights requirements and also compatible with EU obligations, including sustainability habitats assessments. The independent check is an independent examiner will check the plan, see if it meets the basic condition statement. After the check, there's no requirement to hold a public meeting, and after the check, the examiner can refer the plan to a referendum. The inspector could recommend modifications are made to the plan before it's recommended to referendum, or the inspector could refuse the plan. But if it's recommended to go to referendum, this is organised by and funded by the council, and there is a simple 50% rule. So if more than 50% of the people who turn up agree with the plan, then it goes ahead, and there's regulations that inform that. And the final stage, stage 5, would be adoption of the plan. And once it's adopted, the plan forms part of the statutory planning system, and it forms part of the basis for determining planning applications within that neighbourhood and appeals. So far, neighbourhood planning in Chorley. This year, both Bretherton Parish and Coppell Parish have recently had their neighbourhood areas designated. We have a dedicated area on the council's website where updates of this will be shown, and that's the website address there. It's on our planning policy pages. Things that you might like to consider when wondering whether if your neighbourhood would benefit from a neighbourhood plan. What the vision or objectives for your area is. Could this be achieved through a neighbourhood plan? Is there support within the community to prepare one? Do you have the skills necessary and the time to undertake it? Have you identified sources of funding, which I'll talk about a bit more in a moment? Have you got the time and commitment to take it forward? And do you have the good relationship with the council? Have you already been speaking to the council and we're able to assist with your plans? So this is where neighbourhood plans fit in with the wider plan making system. So at the top, we've got the National Planning Policy Framework, national government documents, and other legislation and regulations. Underneath that, we have the documents produced by the council. Currently, we've got the core strategy and the Chorley local plan, as well as supplementary planning documents. We have an emerging central Lancashire local plan that's being prepared at the moment. And then within that umbrella, produced by the local community, is where the neighbourhood plans fit in. So they must be in general conformity with the national and other local plans. So as I mentioned, we're in the process of preparing a new local plan, Central Lancashire Local Plan, Joint Plan. This will guide development to the right places, ensure that we develop the right number of homes, jobs and infrastructure that communities need. The neighbourhood plan should be aligned with the strategic needs and priorities of the wider local area, and they must be in general conformity with the strategic policies of the local plan. Crucially, the neighbourhood plan cannot propose less growth than required by the local plan. And as I mentioned, at present, local plan is the core strategy in the Chorley local plan, but we have the emerging Central Lancashire local plan too. There's funding available for groups that wish to produce a neighbourhood plan. There are 3 types of funding you can apply for. There's the basic grant funding, which is everybody can apply for that. That's a basic grant of up to £10,000. And as well as that, you can also apply for technical support, provided you meet the eligibility criteria for that to assist. There's a website there which provides more information. The third type of funding that some might qualify is affordable housing for sale grant funding. There's eligibility criteria for that as well. That's a bit more about the additional grant funding and the affordable housing funding. Finally, I've got some frequently asked questions, just additional information about neighbourhood plans. How long does it take to prepare a neighbourhood plan? This is for each individual area to decide themselves, but on average, it's likely to take up to 2 years from start to finish. Can neighbourhood plans stop development from happening? And the answer is no. But you can guide development to be more appropriate to a local context and help decide where it goes within the area. The government's made it clear it's not a tool for residents to oppose proposals for new developments close to them, and it can only include proposals for an equal or greater amount of growth than set out in the Planning Authority's Local Development Framework and National Guidance. How much work does it take? And this depends on how much detail the plan goes into. Plan makers need to use appropriate, proportionate, up-to-date evidence to support the policies. And in addition, there are minimum statutory requirements such as the sustainability appraisal that would need to be completed as well. So it can be significant time taken to do that. What weight does it get in planning decisions? When it's adopted, the neighbourhood plan is a statutory planning document and it will have significant weight in making decisions on planning applications. The neighbourhood plan would be reviewed every 5 years once adopted to check that it's up to date and see if any policies need reviewing. What time frame should the plan cover? There's not a statutory time period that a plan must cover, but it's common for them to look at least 15 years ahead. And many groups decide to align their neighbourhood plan period with that of the local plan. For context, the emerging Central Lancashire local plan is to 2036. What's the council's role? The council has a duty to provide technical advice and practical support to those groups producing a neighbourhood plan. We also have to agree and formally designate the forums where that's appropriate, or agree the boundary of the area to be covered. We organise the check by the independent examiner before it can be voted on, and we organise the referendum itself. And we also go through the process of adopting the neighbourhood plan and bringing it into force. And here we've got some useful links. Locality is a very good website. There's a guide to how to produce a neighbourhood plan, a step-by-step guide that's quite detailed and quite useful. And the government produces regular bulletins just about neighbourhood planning that you can sign up to have them sent to you for any updates as well. And that also gives information about funding too. And if you have any questions after tonight, then that's my contact details there. If you'd like to get in contact with me or the planning policy team. And I will just stop sharing my screen in a moment.
Thank you very much, Philippa.
Have you got any questions? Thank you.
Yeah, have we got any questions for Philippa? I found that a most useful presentation. As a member of the planning committee, you know, it is useful to see those things. Has anybody got any questions for Philippa, please? Kim?
I just, in terms of the boundary for neighbourhood plans, can more than one parish council work together? You know, if they see themselves as sort of one community in terms of planning this type of stuff? That's my question. Thank you.
Do you mean a joint neighbourhood plan with your adjacent parish?
Yeah, or parishes.
Yeah, I think that parishes. Yeah, I think that they can cover a wider area. I think that the aims and vision would need to be connected, so there would need to be a logical area, I'd say, because normally it would just be covering the parish, but the boundary could be amended if it was agreed with. That would be consulted on as part of the area consultation.
Thank you.
Karen, would you like to ask your question?
Sorry,
Muted,
I can't
Karen.
hear.
She's
You
muted. Chair.
muted.
I think she might be confused whether you said Karen or Aaron.
Oh, Karen, was it Karen or Aaron?
Karen.
Karen, right, okay. Thank you. Sorted it out now. I didn't get to see the presentation. I couldn't see it on my screen. Is there a hard copy or something that we can read or share with my parish councillors?
I can certainly send the presentation, the electronic version of the presentation.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Aaron, it is Aaron this time. Did you have a question, Aaron?
Thank you. Yes. Just really, if there's a local plan at parish, how much might this or not be affected with the, like for example, at the planning committee, we're finding that the government's looking to change things. Is this outside of that, or might this be included with the various restrictions that government's trying to bring in?
Do you mean changes to national planning? Yeah.
Yes.
So the neighbourhood plan would need to fit in and conform with national planning. And so as it changed, then the neighbourhood plan would need to keep abreast of that. It would need to be in conformity.
We could just come back, Chair, but if on the planning committee, we feel like we're being having our trouser legs pulled up and smacked our legs, what's the point in setting this? Because it's going to be just as restrictive for parish.
Well, the neighbourhood plan would be produced by the parish, and hopefully, although it would be in conformity with all the other plans, it would be able to give some local detail to that.
Okay, thank you.
Arnold, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, very simply going back on one of the earlier questions to Philippa, the distribution of the slide pack, will that be to all present today or all councils? In other words,
circulated.
Okay. It's just that it would be a very good document to form part of the next parish council meeting to deliver to
Of course.
the whole council.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I notice I have a few more hands raised. I'm just looking to see who they are. Councillor Morwood.
Thank you, Chair. Without having the slides in front of me, I'll look forward to going through those again and refreshing my memory of exactly what the neighbourhood plan involves. I should have refreshed my memory a little more for last night, but it got through, so there was no problem. But I noticed quickly at the end was it examples that you could go to of other neighbourhood plans that have been produced in other areas that you could go and have a look at and see what sort of thing has been included in those, or was it just a kind of general thing?
The examples at the end were just general examples, links to the government websites, which has information on how to produce a plan. But certainly there are examples of neighbourhood plans that have been produced. There's been some produced by our neighbours in South Ribble and West Lancashire as well. So if you Google that, or I could send a link to neighbourhood plans that have been produced there as well, and you could have a look at those, what kind of things have been covered.
That would be useful, especially the South Ribble one. Thank you.
Karen, did you want to come back in? Your hand's still up.
Muted, Chair.
You're muted again, Karen, but no.
Oh, sorry, I'll take my hand down.
Right, that's fine. I didn't want to leave you out if you wanted to ask another question.
Thank you.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Philippa, and we'll move on. Thank you for that presentation. It was very informative.
Thank you.
Item 4, an item requested by the Vice Chair, Councillor Kim Snape. So fire away, Kim.
Yeah, all it was, I know a couple of parish councillors I'd spoken to in the last sort of couple of months since the local elections were just asking about how people had practically managed in terms of going back to physical face-to-face meetings. And when in fact, I think the parish council that raised it isn't actually on the call, but I think when I raised it with Ruth, she thought it might be a good idea if we spent 5 minutes on it, really, if anybody could say, you know, how they've managed in terms of going back to face-to-face meetings and with the whole sort of social distancing and everything. And I know a couple of the 2 parish councils that have raised it struggle for meeting locations and stuff like that. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Item 5 is some items requested by Wealton Parish Council. One of them, I know Terry's not here tonight, Councillor Dickinson, so I'll just quickly run through them. Why is it when a refuse contract's awarded that the contractor can refuse to empty Chorley Borough Council bins on the playground in Meadow Street, Wealton? I will go through this very quickly. When the playground was refurbished, we asked that our bin be left. The bin was taken away and Chorley bin put in its place. Up to change of contract, the bin was emptied. Our client queried this and has been told that the refuse wagon was too big to go up Meadow Street. The previous emptying of the bin was an act of kindness by the previous contractor, plus other excuses. She was advised that she could empty the bin. A, she's not a landsman, and B, is not qualified on health and safety grounds to do so. And the response was, the entire play area is owned and managed by the parish council according to our system. The council did use to empty it as a token effort when passing by to do the one outside the village hall. No contractors have ever taken part in emptying of these bins. Now I've moved to a larger 18-tonne HGV vehicle and relocated the little bin that was outside the village hall to the bottom of the steps. There's no need to access Meadow Street in the HGV due to access issues. This was recently brought up for discussion with the Wealton Parish Council with how they want to proceed. Officers suggested if they had a lensman, then this could be done by them. The parish clerk offered to maintain the area if equipment was delivered, so this was delivered directly. So the answer is that one. And the second question was, has Lancashire County Council decided there will be no more 20-mile areas in Chorley? And the response was, Lancashire County Council have been approached for a response, but there's no response received as yet. On to item 6. Going over the page, item 5, item 6, which is an item brought by Croston Parish Council. I don't know whether there's anybody from Croston Parish who wants to raise this. But did everybody get the slides from? Sorry. Yes, Alan. Sorry.
I'll just slip my other hat on for the time being as clerk at Coston Parish Council.
All right. Yes, Alan.
Members of the liaison who have been to previous meetings will no doubt recognise the item. We have a very keen member of our council regarding the IWNS problems in the area, and he requested it be put on. Unfortunately, he's had to send his apologies in because he doesn't have access to Teams, so he'd asked me just basically to present it for him. It seemed easier to put the whole thing on a document so that everyone could read it and see the pictures rather than try and play with the machine myself. So that's why everybody had it prior. And really, if everybody wants to read it and then just let us have any questions, I can pass them on. I mean, the actual query was answered in the papers by Lindsay, I think. So there's not really an awful lot to sort of kick around this evening, unless there's anything arising from the report and the pictures which you had.
And the pictures were very good, I have to say, Alan. I'm glad you did that. I didn't really want to read through all
I cannot claim any responsibility, Chair.
No, thank you for that, Alan. Right. Moving on, I assume everybody's seen the pictures. Moving on. Number 7 is question from members of the liaison and public. Now, did you have an item, Kim? I think if you want to bring your item here, Graham, it's possibly as good as bringing it up under any other business. It's up to yourself. I don't mind either way. All right. Sorry.
No, hang on.
Right, go on, Graham.
It's only a minor item, but it's a bit of a nuisance, really. Since Heath Charnock at the last election lost its standalone parish, it's now in with Chorley South East. Is it possible that when you send a weekly planning list out, you treat Heath Charnock as a standalone parish? Because when you go through the parish list, you start with Chorley South East, and you go and Heath Charnock, and you plough through all the planning applications relating to Chorley, as well as Heath Charnock. Is it possible to have Heath Charnock back as a standalone parish on the planning document, on the weekly planning list?
My own thoughts are we'll probably have to put that to Democratic Services, I would think. Oh, Jonathan. All right, Jonathan, you're coming in on that, are you? Right, fair enough, Jonathan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if the system allows us to do that, but I will take that question away and speak to Adele in the planning team about that one, and just see if we can do that or not. So I can report back on that issue at a future meeting, or I can drop an email through just to confirm that.
Thanks, Jonathan. I mean, there was no problem before the election. What's the problem? I'm not being sarcastic or being flippant, but what is the problem after the election?
Yeah, I'll check up on it for you and send you an email separately or something, perhaps.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, Graham. Now, sorry, June, I'll miss you going to Graham, but wouldn't forget about you.
I wouldn't let you. Okay, thanks, Chair. It's an item that came up at Adlington Council kind of last night about a plan for, somebody asked about electric vehicle charging points being rolled out to the villages. Are there any plans, any notion of it? And I wondered if it would be possible, if it was something that the climate change that the climate change working group could look at, because they meet very soon. There you are, Mark. That's one for you.
I see Mark Clifford's up for this. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll bring it up in any other business. We do have a meeting next week, so I'll be delighted to discuss it for you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Get back to my brief. Items for future meetings is number 8. Karen, did you want to come in with something?
Oh, I've done it. Am I here now?
You're on now, Karen, yes.
Oh, I am, right. This is for the members of the public. I'm bringing it forward for our village has a very high quantity of horse riders. Us as a parish council actually wrote to the highways department asking if we could have if you've seen them, the 2 meter, a horse and a 2 meter sign and a car and go slow. We did write to them, but the highways wrote back and said that they would have to do a 2-week survey on the situation. The person who did the survey is not a horse person or doesn't even live in the village, and they came back with the fact that there wasn't enough equestrian facilities in Bretherton to warrant the signs. So he said that the too many signs would deviate from the problem. But on counting, and I am a horse rider myself, that's why people have asked me to approach this situation, that there are actually over 23 properties in Bretherton, and we're only a small village, who have horses with sand paddocks and everything else. And there's a possibility of being over 100 people who have horses in this area. And I just wondered what could be done next to just have this point across, or can we put it on the next meeting, or has anybody got any advice of how to carry it forward?
Thank you, Karen. I mean, we have at least 2 county councillors on this call, my vice chair Kim and Councillor Clifford, and Councillor Collins, I see, is on as well. Any of you got any thoughts on this issue? Kim, have you any?
I would just say speak to your county council. I know me and Mark have done a lot of work on it in Wicklow in the past, and we sent highways quite a comprehensive list of locations that had been raised both around Heapy and Wickley Woods, and 50% of them were done, weren't they, Mark? And some of them they came back with and they said no to it, but we took it as a view that it was a step forward, and you take a step forward, then we can work towards the rest of them in the future. But I would speak to Keith or go directly to highways and send them a list of locations.
Right. Thank you very much. That was my next point of call, and perhaps go and get everybody to sign. Would that be a good idea? If, like, not a petition, but that they have horses and they would like the notice, because the roads are quite fast through Bretherton, especially North Road. And there's a lot more on North Road than there is on South Road.
Thank you, Karen. I think Councillor Riggets, County Councillor Riggets wanted to add to that. Go ahead, Eddie.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to pretty much say what Kim would say. I say your next step would be to just build a case and explain it to your county council, and ask them to do a bit more pushing and investigation on your behalf, and see if they can find out what threshold you need to meet to trigger something to happen in, because sometimes that conversation they can have can help just loosen the any problems that you've got. That's what I would do, same as what Kim said.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Eddie. My own personal opinion is that individual letters are better than a petition, but I don't know whether fellow councillors agree with me. But that's a number of pieces of paper rather than one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Thank you.
Right. Items for future meetings. I noticed there's 1 or 2, and I can't just find the sheet of paper where it was on. The only thing I would say, there was one on for our health, our care, and my good wife reliably informs me it no longer exists.
Chair.
Yes.
The electric charging point, something may come from the climate change working group. I don't know. So if it was included, you get an update at the next meeting.
Well done, June. Yeah. You can tell you.
Oh,
you tell you matured a few. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Morewood, have you got a suggestion?
Well, no, it's just to comment on the charging. Don't the county have a fund for charging points, and are they not involved in putting in these charging points across Lancashire in various places? So I think it'd be useful to get their input as well as obviously our own working party, but I'm sure the county council have a similar working group that covers that sort of thing. I may be wrong. I'm sure the county councillors can find out or perhaps tell us at this moment, but that might be useful. That's all I was going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alistair. I think Councillor Briggett wants to come back and I don't know, let's him reply to that, but
Yeah,
leave it over to you, Eddie.
Yeah, see if I can help, Mr. Chair. Well, I would say that we don't actually have a working group. We have a cabinet member for climate change and environment. That's how serious we now take it at county. And I know he has been reaching out to all the leads in all the districts. So I assume he's already made contact with Mark, County Councillor Sean Turner has, I would imagine. I know he's been writing out to all the districts to try and get some joined up conversations about that. But we're doing a lot to put charges in. But I think it's one of those things that's a bit of a mix, because I think it depends who owns the land, whereabouts it is, and there's quite a few different schemes. Some come from government to county. I think there are other schemes available. But if he's not been in touch with Mark, and Mark lets me know, well, Mark can speak to him himself and sort it out, being a county councillor, but definitely there is stuff happening.
Thank you, Eddie. I went actually on a site visit with people from County Council in Withnell Fold, and unfortunately there we couldn't find any land that was available that wasn't privately owned, so the problems. Coming back to suggested items for future meetings, I've now Matthew's kindly found the list, and they are community energy funding, revival survival strategy for Chorley Town Centre post-COVID, time credits, the infamous Our Health, Our Care, which, as I say, my good wife informs me should be HP2 now, Northern Rail, climate change task group report, and electric car charging points. Now, would anybody like to add anything to that? I mean, obviously, there's enough there for more than one meeting. We would probably. Peter Gabbett, you want to have a word, Peter? Carry on, Councillor Gabbett.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a small thing that has cropped up lately is the special expenses charge on council tax being tied to parish council precepts. So I thought it may be worth the discussion in future meetings, just to discuss how that's calculated, and because obviously it affects the residents who we serve. That was all. Yeah.
Well, seeing a lot of parish councillors attend this meeting, Peter, that would sound like a very good one, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think it's something that's quite good. I've now got Graham Ashworth would like to have a quick word. Go ahead, Graham.
It's just a quick one, Gordon. Could we not have a presentation on how this charging is going to be set up in the next 8 to 10 years for houses in terrace streets? Because it's all right saying, well, we'll go to a plot of land where there are multiple charging points. Well, supposing all those charging points are full, it goes back to the days when Telewest and Ninex put fibre optic cables in the pavement to every house. How would it work to charge a car from say, a simplistic thing for at your own front door?
It's a good point, yeah. We can come
We
back.
need a presentation. We need a presentation on that.
Like a presentation, right? I'll note that down. A presentation rather than on the. Yeah. Okay. I've got County Councillor Riggets. Did you want to come back on that one, Adi?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to come back for a little bit of information. I don't profess to be an expert on it, but I've seen a couple of news articles how they've been trialling it in London with certain cables that I think that come across the pavement or are dropped at a certain level where it's not a trip hazard or something like that. So there is stuff out there, and it is being trialled in some of the bigger cities, I think, where this is a problem, and it's moving. So there is some stuff out there. So I might be able to look around and find some of those articles yourselves. But there's definitely some trials happening. I just don't think any happen in Lancashire.
Thanks, Eddie. You know a lot more about it than me anyway. And a discussion about the parish council's presets and how they're set, and just a general discussion, I think, is what Councillor Gabbett wanted. And other than that, if everybody's happy, has everybody seen the dates of the next meetings? We've got the 20th of October this year, 21, 19th of January, 22, and 16th of March, 22. And you'll also see there are deadlines of about roughly a fortnight for items to be requested before the meetings. It's the 8th of October, 7th of January, and 4th of March. So it's just slightly less than a fortnight. So if you put a fortnight in your minds, that should just about do it. And if there's no further business, no questions, thank you for your attendance, and good night. And there's only me and Kim need a safe journey home, isn't there? And Matthew.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thanks,
Good night.
Thank you.